Ross, got a little message for you. I think Dennis, Big Ron, will finish you off in 1 round. Be easy.
As long as that.
Pop, pop, bang.
Max, how you doing? What's the story, morning glory? We had a great party last night over in Birmingham. Maybe shit going down. I'm a bit unsteady today. But yeah, if Dennis wants to get it on, we'll get it on in September. As long as they donate the money what I will be getting to RSPCA. Alright? Once I see the transfer, it's on, I'll just turn it with my gloves and we'll get at it. Oh, some leather, eh? Okay. Well, I hope Dennis is doing his cardio. See you, Max. Take care.
Today, yes. I don't know. It's what all my fights, but today, yes. It's a great thank you, God.
It seemed like a fast start. Had you already worked him out in the first fight, so it was easier to start like that this time?
It was easier to stop him?
It was easier to start that fast because he'd already boxed him in Poland.
Тебе было... Ты хочешь переводить?
Кажи, говори, все нормально.
Тебе было намного легче сейчас его остановить, потому что ты его до этого боксировал?
Listen, we prepare for this fight with my team, with Yuri, изучали.
Learn.
We learn first fight. We have it a long time, yeah, 2 years, yeah. We prepare combination.
Hey, welcome back to number one podcast in the sport where, you know, we're going to keep peeling this onion that is Dubois versus Usyk 2. Because we've got to have the real conversations as boxing fans. Normally, you know, I say, look, I talk for the people in the sport, but now we've got to talk as boxing fans, I think. People who love the sport, whether you're a fighter, whether you're a coach, whether you're anyone. We've got to have an honest conversation and say, look, these guys ain't good enough. From top to bottom, they ain't good enough. And I'm going to exclude the board from this because I keep saying it. Like, if you look at what the board are catching, from brain scans to blood conditions and stuff, I think the board are doing a really good job at filtering people out. More stringent licensing requirements. So I'm going to park the board for now. I'm just going to talk about the people in the sport and go, we have serious issues. And the reason I say this is, and let me just say this up front so people know this, I'm a big fan of Don Charles as a man, as a person. I'm a big respecter of Don and what he's had to go through, what he's achieved, right? That's not it. But that can't preclude me from talking honestly about people involved in the sport. Not with the purpose of ruining them. It's not for that. But as fans, we're all sat here going, oh, guys, I'm confused. Any right-minded boxing fan today is like, how are we in this position today? And why should we just be told to move on to the next thing? Because that's not what was promised to us. So just very, very high level. I met Don last year at the Southern Area Awards, and Don was quite rightly and justifiably lavish with praise, and he gave a lengthy but heartwarming speech and quite life-affirming speech about how far he's come in the game and how far he's come as a man. Awesome. At the same time, Don was the man who was telling us he can beat Usyk with Daniel Dubois. Wasn't saying we can compete, we can take part, we can show up. We can beat Usyk. He was saying he knows how to beat Usyk. He's seen enough now. That's the benchmark we have to judge him on. Yeah? So just to frame it, remember this, he knocks Joshua out and he's meant to fight Parker. That fight gets stopped and people speculated on why. And now we know it was, look, if Parker and Dubois fight each other, that means Usyk's got one less opponent because someone here's reputation is going to get damaged. if we split it up, Usyk can fight both and everyone makes more money. I get the economics and the mathematics behind it. Sporting wise, it stinks. So we end up where we are with Daniel fighting Usyk. So it's what they wanted. Team Dubois wanted that. It's more money. Look, Daniel could probably retire now and never fight again and be good if he has the right people around him. So by the time we get to July, we're being told that this is a foregone conclusion. Daniel's learned everything. We've now had 2 years with Daniel to get him ready. We know him. He knows us. The system will work. The setup will work. And we know what happened. Some say he quits. We don't know. Yeah? We don't know. Some people respond to getting dropped differently. There are other guys who would have jumped up, banged their gloves and said, right, I'm going out on my shield. And if that's the bar we want to hold people to, cool. But as long as we're consistent with it. Maybe Daniel was like, nah, that's me done. I'm going to get up and then just get hurt again. Because he got up off the first one. Now, you know, off the second one, I'm like, how many more do you have to take before maybe you don't come back? Do you know what I mean? So there's a bit of, I mean, as Roy Keane would say, I'm going to throw him some toffee in that one. Do you know what I mean? Just like, you know, he got stopped. There was a clean shot that hit him. He was probably done. I'm not going to say he quit on that. But what I thought would be useful today, and I haven't seen this interview, so we're just going to go through the Boxing King Media interview with Don Charles. Shout out to Boxing King Media. Don't be mad at me for doing this. But here's a trainer speaking in the aftermath of the fight. I don't know what he's going to say, but I want to be able to add the fans' perspective, the outside looking in perspective on what's said. Because normally these things are said after a victory and it's a bit like, you know, everyone knows everything. But now we've got to look and go, where's the scrutiny? So I'm just going to do that, and periodically, I will pause it and I'll jump in and say what I've got to say.
Delighted to be joined by Mr. Don Charles. It's 1:15 in the morning, literally 3 hours or 2 hours after the fight, and I asked you for an interview, so I genuinely appreciate you giving me your time, because at a time like this it's quite easy to say no. And I know when everyone's willing to do interviews, but not many people are willing to speak to people when you're at the wrong end of the decision. So respect for that, Don.
Yeah, there's absolutely no place for hiding. I was very vocal prior to the fight. I'm still going to be vocal after the loss, because that's the...
Very true. Don did the rounds. Don and his team did the rounds, and they were lavishing praise here, there, and everywhere, and talking about how, what he does works. So I respect the fact that the accountability comes back the same way. None of this disappearing off social media. None of this I don't want to talk to people. So that's a good thing.
Of the game. That's how it goes. The saying, you win some, you lose some. And we came here, we prepared for a victory tonight. We came here with intentions to succeed, to make history. And collectively, the team, Daniel Dubois, the fighter, and the team. And it wasn't our night, Yeah.
We can't be saying it wasn't our night. The whole point was this was meant to be your night. So if it wasn't your night, what wasn't good enough? Because we were told this was going to be your night. This was going to be historic. What wasn't good enough? Hopefully this interview unpicks what wasn't good enough.
It wasn't meant to be, the better man won tonight.
Well, it's a mark of a real man that you're willing to speak to someone whether you win or lose, so I respect again for that. I was going to quickly break down the night. The first thing I wanted to speak to you about, Don, is your arrival time at the arena, because I was backstage and I heard Usyk's team, they had media, the cameramen were going in whilst he was wrapping up, and I assumed you guys were at the venue, but I think the moment you guys arrived around 8:30, I think it was, he was wrapping up at that time. So could you kind of explain?
Wait, what? Biggest fight of your life? Biggest moment of your life? Seriously? Arriving at 8:30, knowing you're probably going to be walking out in an hour and a half. Isn't this the same thing Joshua said cost him the fight? Do you see what I mean? This is the thing where Joshua was there, he came late and it disrupted him and it threw him off. I would have said Dubois needed to be there from about 7:30. Not necessarily getting his hands wrapped at 7:30, but being comfortable, familiar with the venue. You know what I mean? Like all those little things that really add up when it comes to fight time. Knowing that you don't have to rush the warm-up. You can kind of chip away before you accelerate. There are all these things that, for me, just my opinion, are important. And you never want to feel you're rushing. But it's also worth remembering that Most people stay in the Hilton, so the Hilton's you just walk across the road to get there. So on one hand, yes, you'd want him there early. On the other hand, what were they doing in the hotel? Was Daniel resting up, chilling? Was he warming up? Was he going through things? We don't know. But conceptually, you don't like hearing stuff like that. And when you see that Usyk was being the machine and going, right, I'm going to make sure I'm super early. I want to get into the point where I've depleted my glycogen and I'm into burning body fat and I'm efficient just doing that. Because it's either I do it now or I'm going to do it in the fight, and that's going to cost me. So we need to look at that. And we also have to look at that through the lens of, I think it was the Joshua fight where Don couldn't make it till the last possible minute. So we need to look at these things in the wider picture.
Late arrival?
No, it wasn't a late arrival. As long as you got 2 hours to prepare, that's fine with me, okay? I was in contact with Daniel for the time for him to get there. There was a cut-off line he made the cut-off line, so absolutely no complaints. People, it's optional when you wrap. We had more than ample time. None of that, all the lead-up was spot on, spot on. I actually don't like my fighters to be in the venue for too long.
That's interesting. I feel we've been here before with Don, where we're talking about the logistics in terms of being prepped and being ready. And he's right. If ring walks are at 10, because I can't remember what time the fight started, but it was definitely before 10:30. That wasn't enough time if it was 8:30. And, we can say he was in contact. This doesn't feel like a situation Don's in control of at the moment. Right? It doesn't. Like, I've been around Don Charles. Don's a stickler. Don will tell you, I want you there at 8 o'clock. And he'll expect you there at 8 o'clock. He's talking now like he's having to give a political answer. So I'm gonna give him some bail on this one. This doesn't feel like something that Don would normally do.
We needed 2 hours for the prep, tune up mentally and physically. So on that front, whatever you notice, that's what they opted to do, to wrap their hands half an hour earlier than us.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And then I want to ask you, and obviously the fight's done now, what was the plan? Because a lot of the assumptions were you guys are going to go in there, you're going to attack his body, because that's what everyone always thinks about. So what was the plan?
The plan is what you saw, and it was a fight, it was warming up, you can't go gun-ho on Usyk.
Wait. Wait, what? What? The plan was what you saw. I'm hoping there'll be a bit more depth to this, but here's what I saw. I saw a guy in Usyk who understood the importance of keeping his feet moving the right way. And I saw a guy in Daniel who was moving upper body first, lower body second. And so Daniel was finding it hard to get back out of range after he had initiated his attacks, which against Usyk is vital. And the times where people like Chisora and Joshua caused Usyk problems were when they were able to move their feet. And it's not necessarily about jumping in and out of range. Sometimes it's just sliding your feet, 10 inches one way, 6 inches another way. But it's that constant movement and making sure you've got Usyk where you want. And Dubois wasn't doing that. So if the plan was what we saw, that didn't seem like a plan at all.
Go gun-ho. It's pressure, calculated pressure. And the main objective was to put Usyk on his back foot. And for the vast majority of those rounds, from round 1 to the end in 5, vast majority of it, Daniel was succeeding by putting Usyk on his back foot.
But to do what on the back foot? You put Usyk on the back foot. Usyk often retreats. It doesn't bother Usyk. Usyk will often retreat just to have a look and go, okay, all right, how quick is he moving? Okay, where does he favor in terms of movement? Then he just goes back in and does what he wants to do.
In the previous fight we had with Usyk, we had him on his back foot. He controlled the rhythm on his front foot. So if you go and watch the fight, when it goes right, you look at what you did right, also what you did wrong. When it goes wrong, I don't just focus on the negative thing. I know what we did wrong. I also know what we did right in that fight. It wasn't, I don't know.
You got stopped sooner in the second fight than the first fight. That's all history's going to say. That's all history's going to say. So at this point, what I'm hoping for in the next few minutes is Don to really break down, look, here's how you beat Usyk. Here's how we wanted to implement that. And then here's the bits that worked. Here are the bits that didn't work. And in my opinion, here's why it didn't work.
I was scoring it. It was a they were both in the fight. Daniel was certainly in the fight. From round one to the end, he was in the fight. At the point when he took that horrible, tremendous long, he went down twice. First was a right hook just behind the ear, make sure equilibrium goes. And like a brave gladiator he is, he got up. Not only did he get up, he went and fought to trade again. Okay, wrong or right, he went and traded again, and he actually caught Usyk with a straight right. Usyk replied, countered with a long left hook, which is the one that ended the fight. So he got caught in exchanges. That's boxing. That's how it goes. It could have been us where Daniel had connected with that big right, and it could have been gone for us. That's what people to pay to see action.
Well, what you said there, I did notice that you guys started on the front foot, and he was obviously moving around a lot, and Dan quite possibly won the first couple of rounds potentially, and he kind of was trying to pick him off towards the end. But one of the things I noticed from him that was a big difference, and I don't think I've ever seen him fight like this before, he was loading up a lot. Did you notice that?
He was aggressive, more aggressive early in the fight than normal. He knew he had to be.
So I don't know if that's true. Whether you're talking Dubois or Usyk, neither man is cagey. Usyk will always force the pace in the first couple of rounds. He likes to do that to get you into your adrenaline so that you just shed a load of energy and start tiring rounds 4, 5, and 6. So this stuff here is stuff that I think people are talking about that doesn't make any sense. So ignore all of that.
Fighter he is, intelligence, IQ. We knew he had that in abundance. Yeah.
Oh, you knew, but we didn't see that. There's a lot of, I knew this, I knew that. Dude got stopped in the 5th round. It wasn't a punch from the gods. It wasn't a lucky punch. Everything that Daniel did against Joshua in terms of being defensively sound and responsible and knowing how to nullify Joshua's aggression and power, none of that happened in this fight. And hopefully we get to a question of why that didn't happen.
Guy, for all the things I said prior, I never knocked him for, how can I? And the guy's a genius. He's a very, very clever boxer. And you know what? He can take a shot as well to the head.
He took a good shot. Yeah. I can't remember what round it was, but straight right.
I think 3rd round, and we had a very good 4th. I thought, here we go. We're warming up to this. It's working. And in the first couple of rounds, Dan was parrying his Usyk's left hand, southpaw left hand. That was the practice. Parrying. He was parrying it successfully. Usyk attempted to go to the body. Daniel countered it. And
Wait, hold on. What? You're going to parry the guy's power hand with your backhand, but you're orthodox and he's southpaw. Like, that is, if you can't see the backhand coming and just be able to step away and give a little angle to counter, that's the worry. Why would I parry a shot that I can see coming from last week? That's not advantageous for me unless I'm going to counter with the left hook. But Usyk's not going to fall for that because it's Usyk. And if you notice when Usyk throws that backhand, he knows the next logical shot to counter him is a left hook, so he drops his head. But as he's dropping his head, he keeps his right arm high, so you're only ever going to hit the arm if you're aiming for his head. If I know that from watching the fights, they must know that.
He tried to go to Daniel's body a few times in the first couple of rounds, and then once he went down, Daniel countered that, so he stopped doing that and started going back upstairs to Daniel. And like I said, there were successes in there. Terribly disappointed of the final outcome, of course, but I have to look at the positives also in that fight and build on it.
What positives? You did worse in the second fight than the first fight. What are the positives? I didn't see better footwork. I didn't see him being smoother. In fact, I saw a slower Daniel Dubois. I saw a tighter Daniel Dubois. I saw a more muscle-bound Daniel Dubois, which he didn't need to be in this fight. Usyk came in at what? Let's just say 227 pounds. So that's what? Just over 100 kilos? Daniel could have come down. He could have been 232 without losing power, right? Daniel could have been super light in that fight and just used his legs. My understanding is they've known about this fight for about 4 or 5 months. That's enough time to prepare as far as I'm concerned. So what was the prep?
You've shared some rounds with Alexander Usyk now. In your opinion, I've asked a lot of people this today. Do you see anybody beating from the current crop of heavyweights or even cruiserweights that can move up?
Well, you got to look at who's out there demographically, who is there. No, I mean, he says he has one more fight left. Who knows, he might change his mind to carry on. So, with the fights with the Fury, they were close fights, the second one in particular. There's Anthony Joshua. There's loads of people. It depends on who he's in a position he can choose who he wants to fight. According to him, he had 2 fights left, depending on how tonight went. Tonight went good for him, so he might opt to increase the numbers of how many more fights he's going to have, or he may bail out after the.
You were meant to be the guy to beat him, though. That's what people paid $2,000 to sit at ringside for. That's what people paid to sit in the gods for. That's what people went home early for. That's what people bought the snacks for. Because you told us you were going to be the guys that beat Alexander Usyk. This is sounding very meek. This is sounding very much like we just wanted to get paid. This is sounding like we never believed we could win. Because there's no conviction in anything Don is saying. Like, yo, we had him on this point here. And if this had turned in our favor, we would have won. He knows he was well beaten. And all this we can go and build. Build on what? Like, that was 2 years ago. To go away and build was 2 years ago. To bring back something in the rematch that was completely different and had Usyk going, oh my God, what is this? Instead, Usyk was like, why are you making it so easy for me?
And he's got so many people to choose from.
100%. What I will mention also is I spoke to his team after the fight, and they said that you went up to him and gave him the respect. And sometimes people don't see that because there was probably no cameras there. So I wanted to highlight the fact that I know that you went to the team and you praised Alexander about his.
Why is that important? This is what kills boxing. We talk about stuff that's not important. I don't care if you go and shake his hand. I don't care if there's respect. As a boxing fan, I don't care about that. I care about the fact that you promised something that was nowhere near being delivered. Whether it was Don, whether it's Mark Tibbs, whether it's Joe G, whatever trainer it is, you can't promise something, not deliver it, and then expect to be, you showed respect at the end. I don't care. Show me some results at the end.
Gave him the respect, because sometimes people just assume the opposite.
Yeah, listen, people also understand, right? When you're fighting, it's a fight. So all the press conferences, all the engagements prior to the actual fight, it's a fight. You're in a fight. Mentally, you have to be switched on. It's energy. It's a fight. And I'm not a hypocrite. Yeah, there's all the gatherings, every engagement, like I said, you have to represent. You have to don't let their energy kill your energy, hoping that your energy will suppress their energy. So.
Word salad. Like, that's literally God knows how many seconds of saying nothing, right? What's the point here?
At the end of the day, after the fight, you're the better man, better boxer, better fighter tonight. I have to salute them. I'll be an idiot.
No, you said he wasn't the better man. You said Daniel had him out in the first fight. The whole thing was, that wasn't a low blow. That was it. Daniel should have won. Daniel was the better man that night. That's what they said. We can't have the tail between the legs now like this. This doesn't make any sense to me. This is the stuff that boxing fans should be clamping down on. And when I speak to Boxing King Media, I'm going to be like, mate, some of this stuff I can't watch anymore because this is bullshit. We can only hold you to what you told us. Usyk was lucky. It wasn't a low blow. He took the coward's way out. I'm paraphrasing here. So in the second fight, we're supposed to see a continuation of what we saw. And it turns out, maybe they were just there for the payday.
Give the respect where it's due. Had we won, I'm sure they would have done the same thing. So this is the sport we're in. It's sport.
100%. The obvious question is Daniel Dubois. How he's done, how was he in the changing rooms? How has he reacted to the situation?
You are the company you keep. Even in victory, you are the company you keep. In defeat, you also, the same people, yeah? He's got a lot of good people around him. Not one single member left that dressing room. They were there. Normally you see when you lose, people like disappear. No. Everybody who came with us, we stuck together, and we're going to stick together. He's well. He's healthy. He didn't sustain anything where he's fine. That's the most important. He's fine. He finished on his feet, and yeah. And I can take this opportunity also to say, I've already told him privately, I'm going to tell him publicly, this is going out to you, Daniel Dubois. I love this young man because I was out in the wilderness till his father brought him to me. And it's been one hell of a journey.
Really? Really? Where's the progression? Where's the progression? Where's the evolution? Yeah, there's some little things in the Joshua fight that you saw Dubois doing. You're like, okay, I can see that. But that's not progression because every version of Daniel beats every version of Anthony Joshua. It's just what happens when you've had your whole life in boxing fixated on one guy. That's normally how it goes. So all of this stuff now is disappointing to hear. And really the questioning here should be, what was the fight plan? Were you meant to outwork him? Were you meant to outjab? What were you meant to do? Maybe we're finding out that there was nothing.
Our first fight together, we sustained a loss. We went back, regrouped, became a world champion, and beat the person else he beat to become a world champion. And then guess what? Usyk is there again to knock us back a couple of steps. Guess what? You get up.
You chose Usyk. You could have fought Parker. You chose Usyk because, as you said before, like he fell over. He pretended he was hurt when he was. All this stuff, we heard it all. I don't know.
He's a young man. Dan is 27 years old. 27 years old, and he's already a world champion. Lost it. And
no. Daniel Dubois is a guy that's been put down a lot. Put down by Joyce. Put down by Lorena. Put down twice by Usyk. At 27 years old, he's been put down a lot. That's all I'm going to say. If this was Joshua, we'd be calling him Chinny. I genuinely believe that. And this is what happens when Joshua trades at a Hearn discount. People will hold him to a higher standard because they want to hammer Hearn, so they'll hammer Joshua. If this was Anthony Joshua, we would be talking about chin issues. We'd be talking about this guy's clueless. We'd be saying you need to change your trainer. Right? We would be. The only thing that stops people saying that, I reckon, is that it's Usyk. If that had been Andy Ruiz in there on Saturday night doing that, I think this would be a bit more vociferous. Although, interestingly enough, I wonder what a fully fit and informed Andy Ruiz would have done. But park that discussion.
now he's 30. If it's written, he will win another world title. Once Usyk decides what he wants to do, and those belts will fragment and they will break up. And there's so many heavyweights. It's a time to be a heavyweight. And I believe Daniel will be right up there to be contesting to become a...
Right up where? There's nothing, right? We know there's nothing because he might be the best of the rest, but that's the best of a bad bunch right now. A 38-year-old Usyk with miles on the clock played with Daniel Dubois, played with Tyson Fury, played with Anthony Joshua. I know he fought Anthony Joshua, I'll give him his due. Played with Tony Bellew. Think how far back the Bellew fight was, and even then Usyk was getting on. What the hell are these guys talking about when the belts fragment? No. The job was Saturday night. Like all this, oh, we got our money now, we're going to go and get that. I don't care anymore.
Time world champion, so it's not doom and gloom. We have to look at the successes. We have to be grateful for God for...
It's doom and gloom because we're all looking at this like Usyk's not a puncher. Right? Anthony Joshua, the guy they called Chinny, went the distance. Chisora went the distance. People go the distance with Usyk more often than not. Fury went the distance, even though he got dropped. He went the distance twice. Daniel hasn't gone the distance. Daniel did not go the distance with Joe Joyce. Daniel very nearly didn't go the distance with Kevin Lorena. Worth thinking about.
When he was a written-off man, young man, look where he is, but guess what? He's got age on his side. Sir Lennox Lewis, I always refer to him as Sir because he's Sheffield United, right? Sir Lennox Lewis he became the undisputed at the age of 33. Daniel is 27.
You can't compare the two. You can't compare the two. Right? Lennox is an all-time great. That's what I'm going to say on that. You can't compare the two. Someone would have to show me evidence that these two are on the same trajectory. Someone has to show me that. I don't believe it to be true.
Yeah? So, like I said, within the next 3 years, the aim will be to become a two-time world champion. That is the aim. But he's still premature.
He's 27 years old. What do you mean he's premature? He's been a pro since like 2017 or whatever it was. He's not premature. We need to stop talking about this like he hasn't had loads of fights. He's been in at the top level. Like, what more can you give him? This is where now Boxing King Media needs to ask, what are the improvements that are coming in Daniel?
He's gone home tonight. He's healthy. He's safe. Didn't have to go hospital. Nothing like that. He was examined by the authorities, the medics. Clear. Nothing. Yeah. He's as good as gold. Obviously, very disappointed. Deeply disappointed. Yeah. And we're disappointed, but we're happy he's healthy to go to his home tonight. Okay. And he's gonna have a little break. Okay. He's done. Although we didn't have the Parker fight, that's a full camp he did for that. He had a little break, 3-week break. Then he went straight into to do this full camp for this one. So he needs a good rest. And then collectively, his father, Stan.
But you're saying he's 27, but he's a baby. Like, what do you mean he needs a rest? He's 27, he's young, like you said. Why does he need a rest? This is his job. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is his job. Daniel Dubois should be fighting in February, July, October. That should be his fight schedule. What are we talking about here?
We're going to speak to Frank and regroup and come again.
One of the things I will highlight from what you're saying there, Don, is I hope the fans don't forget the form that he came into this fight. He basically met the final boss, but to get to the final boss, he beat some incredible fighters, knocked them all out, and he was, people
No, he didn't. Stop with the glazing, man.
About him. And I know boxing fans can sometimes be fickle and kind of judge you in your last fight, but I hope people know what he's capable of and what he's done.
Not fickle. Yeah, I got to pull Boxing King Media up for this. Not fickle. We were told that Daniel Dubois would deal with Usyk handily by his team. I don't remember his team going, oh, mate, this is a hard fight. Like, we will be lucky to get to the distance. I know you can't say that publicly, but they were talking all kinds of... There was no need for it. And so when we look at people and say you need to do your talking in the ring, what talking was done in the ring?
No, me, I say how it is. It depends, People will always have their opinion. Like I always said, that's their opinion, And you just have to remember, be grateful. It's God's plan. Yeah, it's God's plan. As far as I was concerned, our tactics was right. Yeah, could you have done?
Look how far we are into this pod. We have no idea what the tactics were. The tactics weren't right. The tactics weren't right because you didn't win. The tactics weren't right because you didn't get to the end of the fight. The tactics weren't right because you got dropped twice in the fifth. What do you mean the tactics were right? Like, he couldn't put his arms in a position where they could block punches to his face. Let that sink in. He couldn't put his hands and arms in a position where he could stop punches hitting him in the face. Boxing 101. He had a guard like a white collar boxer. Go and watch it back and tell me I'm wrong.
Better, of course. But we have to go back to the drawing board and have a look and crack on, move on.
How many drawing boards are there? How many times are you allowed to go back to the drawing board? How many times do you have to go? At certain points, you got to start holding up these supposed journalists and say, mate, you're not asking the questions that people who are watching this want to hear. And I'm not saying you got to put pressure on anyone and make them look stupid or trip them up, but we're so many minutes into this and I have no idea what the tactics were.
Yeah, and destiny. I'm a strong believer in destiny, and if it's destined to come back and
I believe in training. I believe in preparation. I believe in understanding who your opponent is and how to beat them, and then executing a plan based on that information. I don't believe in fate and chance. I believe in preparation. That's what a training camp is. Otherwise, what are you doing? Meditating with sound bowls? Like, what the hell's going on here?
And become, like I said, a two-time world. That is the next aim, isn't it? You have to always aim for something. That is the next aim,
Just got one more question for you. I just had to change the memory card. I've got one more question for you, Don. Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk sold out Wembley Stadium, because I remember when this fight got made and a lot of people were saying Dan's not a big enough name to sell Wembley Stadium. And I think it was proven tonight, Daniel Dubois, not only is he a great fighter, he can sell the stadium. And the audience...
No, Usyk's a big enough name. Like, Usyk's British tour. Him and... Usyk might have taken more money out of the United Kingdom than Volodymyr Zelensky. Just being real. Like, we've really funded that Ukrainian more than we did Zelensky. He's on that kind of, like, remember when Linares was on his British tour and just taking money off Matchroom? Whoever they put in front, he was just taking money off them. This is what Usyk's done. Made himself a multi-millionaire because people keep saying, well, we showed up, we had to go. Ooh, look at us.
Cheering for him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, it's almost like, sound like a broken record, you know. People have every right to say whatever it's only their opinion, isn't it? Doesn't mean it's right. I have an opinion.
No. Certain opinions are closer to the mark than others. Most right-minded boxing fans are saying, based on what you were talking before the fight, what we saw on Saturday night wasn't good enough. That's all. And part of me speaks from experience where I've seen the talk before the fight and then I've seen how someone fought. And I said, this ain't good enough. I got in trouble for saying that. Got accused of telling boxers to leave their trainers. I never told JP where to go. JP just said this ain't working. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. And he left of his own free will. I didn't even know till he had done it. And when you hear this, you can understand why, man. I don't want to hear about faith and fate and stuff like that. I don't. I want to hear about hard work and detailed planning, and we had a plan for every round. We were going to make it hard for Usyk in there, not just back him up. We were going to let Usyk know we're fighting to the death. The hard part is, after this, there's nowhere else he can go. Daniel's kind of stuck here because where do you go? You've been everywhere else.
I mean, I'm right. Okay, it's my opinion. You have an opinion. The general public, they're the paying public. They have an opinion. You know, so that was their opinion that Daniel Dubois couldn't sell that. It depends on who you're dancing with. The dance partner happens to be Alexander Usyk, so there was a lot of interest. Yeah. Especially after the first fight, the controversy surrounding that first fight, which obviously gave birth to this one. So there was, you know, yeah, it's I'm happy for that. I'm grateful for God to put us in the position that we're at, and nothing changes. We come back stronger, better. Like I said, Dan has age on his side.
Stronger and better, but 2 years ago he was stronger and better than he is now. The curve isn't going up. This is what this interview doesn't talk about. The curve is not going up. I have a feeling they knew Parker might beat him. I think there was a strong sense in the camp that Parker has a good chance of beating Daniel. And that would have messed everything up. So they pulled that fight and said, fight Usyk and fight Parker. And then you can fight Parker afterwards. That's my theory at the moment. I think they knew. That's all I'm going to say. Because what we were promised wasn't what we got.
Age on his side. There's plenty. We've been together exactly 2 years. It was exactly 2 years ago that we lost to Usyk, right? And nothing changes. We lost to Usyk, went regrouped and became a world champion.
Nothing changes. I think that validates everything I've said up until this point. Nothing changes. So when people say to me, why do I say British boxing's in trouble? Your Honor, the prosecution rests. I'm going to stop the interview there because I don't think there's much else that needs to be said on that. How do I summarize all of this? We don't have trainers good enough to compete with guys like Usyk, Pacquiao, etc. We do not have trainers of that quality. And I don't know if it's an intellectual thing, a systemic thing, infrastructure. I have no idea what it is. But we don't. We have people involved in the sport that just want to be involved in the sport. And they don't care about winning. Don Charles can afford to be relaxed because he knows that there could be another heavyweight walking through the door tomorrow. This is Daniel Dubois' only shot at boxing. And he came in no better. I'd argue he came in worse this time than he did against Usyk in the first fight. And that's why we got the result that we did. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to sit here and say change trainers. I think that's a lazy thing to do. But if I was Daniel and if I was Stan, his old man, I'd be looking going, footwork's not good enough. guard's not good enough, his shape's not good enough, he's too square on, he moves his head when it's too late. He doesn't box to his capabilities. Daniel is capable of doing all the stuff I've just mentioned because I've seen him do it. How is he not in an environment where that's praised? And how is he not in an environment where this is happening? And like I said, where are all the Kieran Farrell glazers now? Remember when people were talking about Kieran Farrell being the best young trainer out there and all these kind of sympathy pieces, these fluff pieces on him? Yeah? Do you remember? People were saying you need to give Kieran Farrell credit for that Joshua win. Look who got interviewed. Don Charles. Don's carrying the can for this. And that's how this game works. You're accountable when you're the head trainer. You take the praise 100%, you take the blame 100%. Kieran Farrell takes nothing. He'll run off and go and train Amy Timlin or something. But there'll be a Dubois reset. I don't know what it will mean, but there'll be a Dubois reset because this is just how the cycle goes. I don't know if there'll be another fight involving Don Charles. I hope there is for Don because, you know, Don's not a bad guy. I just have a feeling there's going to be a Dubois reset. And because Andy Lee's popping at the moment, do not be surprised if Andy Lee's involved at some point in the near future. Now, what that means for him and Parker, I don't know. But I can see them reaching out to an Andy Lee and Adam Booth, etc. They're going to go and find one of the name brand trainers, one of the usual suspects, is what I think will happen. Be a big shame for Don, because I don't think Don's a bad guy, but I don't think Don was capable of coming up with the plan and the blueprint to beat Alexander Usyk. Is that because of him? Is that because of what he has around him? I don't know. But it comes back to this thing where look at all the trainers in this country that have faced Alexander Usyk. They couldn't just meet over dinner and go, what's the blueprint? That's crazy if they didn't, right? That's absolutely crazy if they didn't. And on that note, guys, I'll say take care.